Have you ever felt that something is missing in your life, but you can't explain what it is? Have you ever wondered why some people seem to have an unshakable peace regardless of the circumstances? The kingdom of God is not an unattainable mystery or a distant prize for the few. It's closer than you think, and what's more surprising, it may already be moving within you, even if you don't realize it yet. But why do so many spend their lives searching for it without ever finding it? What does it really mean to seek first the kingdom of God? And how can that discovery change everything around you? Stay with me to the end, because today you're going to understand the secrets that can change the way you live. What I'm about to reveal could be the answer your heart has been searching for so long. Many people spend their entire lives searching for something they don't even know exactly what it is. They feel an emptiness, a longing for something greater, but they can't put a name on it. So they look for answers in work, in relationships, in money, in recognition. They try to fill that space with accomplishments, but they soon realize that none of it is enough. Have you ever felt that way? Like something essential is missing, even though everything seems fine in the eyes of the world? This is because human beings were created for something beyond what the eye can see. True satisfaction isn't found in material things or in what society considers success. Everything passes, changes, fades, and if you cling to something fleeting, your peace becomes as fragile as a leaf in the wind. One day you're satisfied, the next day you're lost. So I ask you, where have you been looking for what really matters? Many people cling to religion, believing that all they have to do is follow the rules to find the kingdom of God. Others seek spiritual experiences, hoping for great signs, mystical revelations, something that will make them feel special. But the truth is that the kingdom of God is not revealed through dogma or visible spectacles. It is not tied to a temple, a particular doctrine, or a select group of people. It manifests where there is a truly open heart to receive it. When I was on earth, I saw people devoting themselves to rigorous religious practices in the belief that it would bring them closer to God. Pharisees and teachers of the law prided themselves on their obedience to the scriptures, but their hearts were far from the truth. They followed traditions, but didn't understand the true purpose of life. On the other hand, people who were considered unworthy sinners, tax collectors, even those whom society despised, were the ones who understood what I was teaching the best. Why? Because they were willing to look beyond appearances and seek with sincerity. The kingdom of God is not found where there is pride. It is not revealed to those who think they already know everything. It is revealed to those who are thirsty for something real, to those who recognize their need, to those who are tired of looking for answers in the wrong places. If you feel like you've tried everything and still haven't found what your heart desires, maybe it's time to change the direction of your search. There is a passage that many know, but few understand. But seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. What does that really mean? It means that when your priority is in the right place, everything else falls into place. It means that there is something much deeper than just surviving, working, and accumulating things. There is a greater purpose waiting to be discovered. Perhaps you felt this in small moments, a moment of inexplicable peace, a feeling of gratitude that comes out of nowhere, a sudden realization that life is more than daily worries. These are echoes of the kingdom within you, subtle signs that something much greater is already trying to reveal itself. But if this kingdom isn't in wealth, religion, or the approval of others, where is it? This is the life-changing question, and the answer may be much simpler than you think. For a long time, people have been taught to think of the kingdom of God as something for the future, a promise for after death, a heavenly destiny reserved only for those who have lived right. But what if I told you that the kingdom is here now? That it's not some distant place in the sky, but a reality accessible right now? When I was among you, many expected me to bring a visible kingdom, a political transformation that would free the people from Roman oppression. But my answer was always different. The kingdom of God does not come in a visible form, nor will it be said, here it is or there it is, for the kingdom of God is within you. These words confused many, but those who opened their hearts understood that I was not talking about an earthly government, but about something much greater. The kingdom is not made up of walls, thrones, or boundaries. It doesn't belong to this world in the way people imagine. It is manifested in the conscience, in the spirit, in that which no one can see, but which transforms everything. That's why many people look around and ask, if God reigns, why is there so much suffering? They expect an outward sign, a visible proof, but they don't realize that the kingdom is already present, waiting to be recognized in each person. Think about it. When you feel peace in the midst of chaos, when you choose love over anger, when you forgive even when you have reason not to, something changes within you. A freedom is born. A lightness takes over your soul. This is not just a temporary feeling, it is the manifestation of the kingdom. Whenever you act in harmony with the truth, whenever you choose the good, even when no one is looking, you are living this reality. But if the kingdom is already here, why doesn't everyone realize it? Because many are distracted. They are so focused on the problems, the pain, the desires of the world, that they can't see what is already within their grasp. It's like someone who has a treasure in their house, but they've never discovered it because they're always looking outside, hoping to find wealth elsewhere. I've often been asked, who is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven? And I would answer, by bringing a child close to me. Because children trust, they don't worry about tomorrow, they see the world with purity and simplicity. The kingdom reveals itself to those who have this heart, free of pride, open to learning, ready to receive without complication. The mistake is to think that the kingdom is a distant reward, something that can only be achieved after this life. It's not so. Eternity doesn't begin when the body dies, it happens now. And those who understand this begin to live differently, without fear of the future, without the anxiety that consumes so many hearts. But there's something deeper in all of this. If the kingdom is already among you, why do some people experience it and others don't? If it is an invisible reality, what is the way to see it clearly? There is a gateway to this kingdom, and it's not outside, it's inside each one of us. Many people spend their whole lives waiting for something external to happen in order to find the peace they so desperately seek. They think that if circumstances change, if they have more money, if they solve all their problems, then they will finally be able to rest. But the waiting never ends, because there's always some new worry, some new obstacle, some new reason to believe that happiness is just a little further down the road. But what if I told you that true transformation doesn't happen from the outside in, but from the inside out? That the kingdom of God is not something you have to reach for, but something that is already there, just waiting for you to open the door. 2,000 years ago I said, "Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in and eat with him and he with me." Notice that I didn't say that I was far away, nor that the door was in a distant place. I'm close. The door is within you, and all you have to do is open it. But what does it mean to open the door? It means to allow the truth to enter. It means to be willing to let go of everything that is preventing you from connecting with the divine. The ego often becomes a barrier because it insists on controlling everything, on proving that it is right, on holding on to resentments and fears. The ego builds walls, but the kingdom can only be accessed when those walls come down. Think of a troubled lake full of waves and turbulence. If you look into it, you'll see nothing but the distorted reflection of the surface. But when the water calms down, everything becomes clear. You can see to the bottom and see what has been hidden all along. That's your soul. As long as your mind is agitated, caught up in worry and anxiety, it will be difficult to perceive the presence of the kingdom. But when there is inner stillness, when you stop fighting life and just trust, then everything is revealed. The kingdom doesn't require effort in the human sense of the word. It is not earned by merit or sacrifice. It manifests the moment you surrender, the moment you choose to trust the Father more than your own worries. That's the key that opens the door, surrender. And that door is always accessible all the time. It doesn't matter where you are, what you've done, or how many mistakes you've made. The kingdom is not closed to those who would enter. There are no impossible requirements, no endless lists of rules. There is only one invitation. Come. And when you cross that threshold, something changes forever. You begin to see the world differently, to realize that life doesn't have to be a constant struggle for control. You begin to feel a peace that doesn't depend on circumstances and a love that can't be shaken by anything outside. But if this door is so accessible, why do so many go through life without going through it? The answer may be where you least expect it. If the kingdom of God is already present and its door is within everyone, why do so many people spend their entire lives without encountering it? Why do some people pray every day, go to temples, study the scriptures, and yet remain lost, anxious, and without peace? It is because many searches are superficial. Some people seek God only when they need something, a cure, a deliverance, a quick solution to their problems. Others seek out of fear, to avoid punishment, or to secure a place in heaven. But the kingdom of God is not revealed to those who seek only personal gain. It is revealed to those who desire truth above all else, even if that truth requires deep inner change. Imagine a man who is lost in a desert. He carries a map with him, but is so desperate that he never stops to read it properly. He walks around, trying to find water, but he passes a well because he's too busy looking at the horizon. That's how many people are. They look for answers, but they don't quiet their hearts to hear them. Another reason so many never find them is that they expect the kingdom of God to reveal itself in spectacular ways. They want signs, visible miracles, a moment of sudden illumination. But the kingdom is subtle. It doesn't shout, it whispers, it doesn't impose, it invites. And those who are always looking for great manifestations often ignore the divine presence in simple things, in the smile of a stranger, in the beauty of a sunrise, in the comfort of a sincere word. There are also those who spend their lives looking to the past or the future. Caught in regrets, sorrows, or worries, they don't realize that the kingdom can only be lived in the now. The Father is not in yesterday or tomorrow. He is present right now, just waiting for you to awaken to him. But perhaps the greatest reason why so many never find the kingdom is the fear of letting go of control. The ego likes to hold the reins, to maintain power over everything. Surrendering to the kingdom means trusting. It means giving up the need to understand and plan every detail of life. And that scares a lot of people. The truth is that the kingdom is closer than anyone can imagine, but finding it requires a change of perspective, a detachment from the need for external proof, and a sincere desire to know the truth, whatever the cost. And when this change happens, a new understanding emerges. The search should never have been for external things, but for what has always been at the center of everything. If there's one thing that completely changes a person's life, it's understanding. The true meaning of this phrase, "Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you." But what does that really mean? Does it mean giving up everything earthly? Letting go of everyday responsibilities? Ignoring basic needs? No. It means understanding that life doesn't have to be a constant struggle for what is already taken for granted. The pursuit of the kingdom is not about giving up responsibilities, but about putting them in the right order. When you prioritize what is eternal, what is fleeting finds its rightful place. The kingdom of God doesn't steal anything from you. On the contrary, it reorganizes everything so that your life is lived to the fullest. Many people spend their days worrying about what they will eat, what they will wear, and what they will accomplish. They run after security, status, and recognition. But I ask you, what's the point of gaining the whole world and losing your own soul? What's the point of having everything on the outside and nothing on the inside? Those who seek the kingdom first don't live in fear, because they understand that the Father already knows what they need. Seeking the kingdom is not repeating mechanical prayers or following rituals out of obligation. It's not an effort to convince God to act, but an opening of the eyes to see that he has always been at work. It means living from the inside out, guided by a trust that transcends circumstances. And this search manifests itself in daily life. When you choose love over pride, when you forgive over resentment, when you trust over fear. When your first response to challenges is to look to God rather than the problem. It's in those moments that you put the kingdom first. But there's an even deeper secret to all of this. Seeking the kingdom first doesn't just mean putting God above material things. It means recognizing that he is the source of all good. And when this truth becomes clear, life ceases to be a race for supplies and becomes a journey of gratitude and rest. The great promise of this phrase is simple. If the kingdom of God is your priority, the rest will come naturally. You won't have to strain, struggle, or worry. Peace will be your companion. What you need will come in due time. But for that to happen, you have to change the way you look at life. For if the kingdom of God isn't about need, what does it really offer? The answer lies where few usually look. Many believe that following God means living in scarcity, that seeking the kingdom of God means giving up joy, comfort, and fulfillment. But this is an illusion. The Father never wanted his children to live in fear of lack, worried about tomorrow, or trapped in a mentality of want. The kingdom of God is abundance, but not in the limited sense that the world understands. The abundance of the kingdom is not just having material goods, though the Father knows your needs and does not lack for those who trust in him. It's something much greater. It's living without fear, without anxiety, knowing that everything you need has already been provided. It's waking up each day with peace in your heart, without carrying the weight of worry. It's having a free spirit that doesn't despair when things don't seem to go according to plan. When I walked among you, I never lacked anything, nor did I ever worry about what to eat, what to wear, or where to sleep. This was not because there were riches all around me, but because I knew that the Father had already provided for me. Just as birds don't hoard but are nourished, and flowers don't work but are beautifully dressed, those who live in the kingdom don't have to live in despair. But the abundance of the kingdom goes beyond that. It is in the way you look at life. One person can have a lot and still live as if he had little, always wanting more, always dissatisfied. Another person can have what they need and feel complete because they have found their abundance in what cannot be taken away. Peace, love, true joy. True abundance is not in what you have, but in who you are. The world teaches that you have to fight to have more, that happiness depends on what you achieve. But in the kingdom of God, the way is reversed. Those who let go of their worries and trust receive. Those who give multiply, those who serve grow. For the law of the kingdom is not based on human logic, but on divine truth. The more you share, the more you have. Have you ever noticed how the most generous people never run out? How those who trust rather than fear always find a way? This is because the abundance of the kingdom is not limited to what you can touch. It lies in the fluidity of life, in the certainty that there is always enough, in the freedom not to be a slave to circumstances. And that freedom is the greatest treasure. Because when you stop living for lack, you start living for purpose. Instead of chasing after what you don't have, you start using what you've already received for something greater. And that's when the kingdom of God becomes real in your life. But if it's already on the move, why don't so many people notice it? The answer may lie in the little details that go unnoticed. Many people spend their lives waiting for a big sign, something extraordinary to prove that God is at work. They expect an obvious miracle, an audible voice, an event that changes everything in an instant. But while they wait for something big, they fail to notice the small manifestations of the kingdom that are already happening around them every day. The kingdom doesn't need a spectacle to exist. It doesn't impose itself. It doesn't shout. It doesn't show itself as something distant. It reveals itself in the silence of a heart at peace, in the strength of those who choose to forgive, in the goodness that spreads without needing to be announced. It is in the patience of a mother who teaches her child, in the kindness of a stranger, in the hope that is born even in the midst of difficulties. But why don't so many notice? Because they're distracted. They're stuck in the past, or worried about the future, carrying old hurts or imaginary fears, and so they stop living in the present, the only moment when the kingdom of God can really be experienced. God is not in the maybe someday or the maybe in the future. He is in the now. I've often been asked, when will the kingdom of God come? They expected me to talk about a specific date, a visible event, but my answer was always clear. The kingdom is already among you. Have you ever had moments when, for no apparent reason, you felt peace for a brief moment, an inexplicable relief, a sense that everything is exactly where it should be? This is no coincidence. It's the presence of the kingdom manifesting even when you don't realize it. It doesn't require grand declarations. It moves gently, gradually transforming those who are willing to see. But there is something that prevents many people from experiencing this reality, something that keeps them stuck, looking in the wrong direction, always hoping that happiness will come from something external. This obstacle, invisible and subtle, can keep anyone away from the kingdom without them even realizing it. If God's kingdom is already in motion, if it manifests itself in small things and is available to everyone, why do so many still live as if they were separated from it? What prevents a person from experiencing this peace and freedom that is already offered? The answer lies in the invisible obstacles, barriers that cannot be seen with the eyes, but which keep many in a cycle of dissatisfaction, fear, and confusion. These barriers are not physical, they are internal. They form in the mind and heart, and as long as they are there, the kingdom will seem distant when it is so near. The first of these barriers is fear. Fear paralyzes. It makes you distrust life, tomorrow, the intentions of others, and even God. Those who live in fear don't trust, and those who don't trust can't surrender to the flow of the kingdom. Fear always says, "What if it doesn't work?" But the voice of the kingdom replies, "Trust. The Father has already taken care of everything." Another major block is the attachment to control. Many people believe that they are only safe if they can control everything. They want to make sure that nothing goes wrong, that things happen the way they think they should. But the kingdom of God cannot be lived with a rigid heart. It moves freely, and anyone who tries to control it loses the chance to experience it. There is also resentment. Those who hold grudges carry a weight that prevents the lightness of the kingdom from flowing. Forgiveness is not only an act of kindness toward others, it is an act of liberation for those who forgive. As long as there is bitterness, the heart is closed, and a closed heart cannot receive what has already been given. Another major obstacle is excessive worry. Many people spend their lives trying to solve problems that don't exist. They always project difficulties into the future, accumulating fears about things that may never happen. But the kingdom of God is lived in the present, and those who are not in the now cannot perceive it. Finally, there's the ego. The ego wants to be special, it wants recognition, it wants to be above others. But in the kingdom of God, there is no greater or lesser. There are only beloved children living in harmony with the Father. As long as the ego is in charge, the kingdom will seem distant because it cannot be experienced by those who insist on separating themselves from others. But the good news is that these obstacles are not final barriers. They can be dissolved, one by one, the moment a person chooses to trust, to let go of control, to forgive, to live in the present, and to give up pride. And when that happens, the way opens to experience the kingdom in a way that transforms everything. But how do we bring this reality into our daily lives? How do we truly live in the kingdom here and now? Do you feel that life as it has been doesn't fully fulfill you? That there is something greater, some deeper meaning waiting to be discovered? From the beginning, the kingdom of God has never been something distant, out of reach, or reserved for a chosen few. It has always been present, here and now, within anyone who will open their heart to this truth. But what does it really mean to live in the kingdom of God? First of all, understand that the kingdom of God is not a physical place. It is not a space defined by boundaries or external rules. It is a state of consciousness, a way of being and perceiving life. It reveals itself when you let go of the illusions of fear, selfishness, and separation, and begin to live according to the universal laws that sustain all creation: love, peace, harmony, and unity. This is the true purpose of existence, to awaken to this reality and allow it to transform every aspect of your life. To live this experience, however, requires an inner shift. Have you ever noticed how the world scurries about in search of satisfaction? How people chase after financial security, status, recognition, and yet feel empty. This is because true fulfillment cannot be found outside of you. The kingdom of God cannot be bought, earned, or accumulated. It can only be experienced through surrender, trust, and alignment with that which is eternal. But how do you align your life with the laws of the kingdom? How do you bring this reality into your everyday life? This is not a mystery or something far away. The answer lies in the choices you make now, the thoughts you nurture, the words you speak, and the energy you send into the world. Every time you choose to act with kindness instead of reacting harshly, you are living the kingdom. Every time you trust the flow of life instead of getting lost in fear, you are in the flow. When you let go of pride and seek reconciliation, the kingdom is manifested in you. That's why the invitation is always the same. Seek first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. But what does that really mean? It means that instead of worrying about external circumstances, your focus should be on internal transformation. For when your consciousness is aligned with the divine, everything else naturally reorganizes itself around you. Challenges don't go away, but they don't have the power to shake you. Difficulties arise, but they don't overwhelm you. You begin to live with the certainty that there is a greater purpose in everything, and that nothing can separate you from the love that holds the universe together. And that love is the foundation of everything. If you want to experience the peace and freedom that the kingdom offers, begin to love in a real and practical way. Love not only those who treat you well, but also those who challenge you. Love not only with words, but with gestures, attitudes, and sincere intentions. Love is not a fleeting emotion, but a vibration that connects all that exists. It is through it that your life becomes an expression of the kingdom, and it is through it that your path is illuminated. This path does not require perfection, but it does require willingness. Often you may find yourself reverting to old patterns, reacting impatiently, or letting fear take over. But that doesn't mean the kingdom is far away. It just means that there are more layers to heal, more beliefs to dissolve, more space for the truth to take hold within you. And every day, with every choice, with every breath, you can choose again. You can choose peace over conflict, trust over doubt, forgiveness over resentment. And so, little by little, the reality of the kingdom becomes your reality. Living in the kingdom of God is not about waiting for something to come later. It is about allowing it to become visible now through you. It is already present. It is already pulsating in your being. The only step left is to say yes, and let that truth transform every detail of your existence. We often think of the spiritual life as something distant, reserved only for those who seem to have a special gift or mystical connection to the divine. But the truth is much simpler. The kingdom of God has never been a secret kept for the few. It has always been accessible, just waiting for a heart willing to receive it. And that heart could be yours right now. You may ask yourself, but am I worthy? Am I ready? The answer is that there is no requirement other than your sincere willingness. It doesn't matter about your past, your failures, your doubts, or your inner struggles. The kingdom does not require perfection, nor advanced knowledge, nor a life without mistakes. It manifests where there is surrender, where there is a heart that, though imperfect, wants to live according to the truth. Perhaps you have felt this call before, in moments of silence, in a spontaneous prayer, in a moment of inexplicable peace. Perhaps you have realized that even on the most difficult days, something inside you whispers, "There is more, you're not alone, there is another way." That whisper is real. This call is for you. Saying yes to the kingdom doesn't mean giving up your life or running away from the world. It means seeing it with new eyes. It means walking the same path but without the weight of guilt, fear, and resistance. It means allowing the peace and certainty of divine love to fill every space of your being, bringing light where there was confusion before. And when that happens, everything changes. The way you face difficulties, the way you relate to people, the choices you make on a daily basis, everything begins to be guided by something greater than the ego, greater than momentary concerns. The kingdom becomes your new home, and in it you find rest. But there is something essential to understand. This invitation is personal. No one can accept it for you. No theory or explanation can take the place of your own experience. The kingdom is not an abstract concept, but a living reality that can only be experienced by those who choose to open the doors of their consciousness to it. You have that choice every day. You can continue to carry the weight of old limiting beliefs and react to the world with fear and resistance, or you can let go, trust, and allow the truth to guide you. The kingdom doesn't impose itself. It doesn't force anyone to enter. It waits, patiently, lovingly, continually, There is no more time to wait. The kingdom of God is not a distant promise or an unattainable ideal. It is already here, pulsating within you, ready to become your reality. All it takes is your choice. A simple yes can transform your existence, open your eyes, and free your soul from the weight that was never yours to carry. There are no barriers that can keep love from reaching you. No guilt, no fear, no pain is greater than the truth that lives within you. You were created to live in peace, to walk with purpose, to be the light in this world. And that light already shines within you. So choose now. Choose to trust. Choose to surrender. Choose to live the kingdom. Not tomorrow, not the day after, but now. For it has always been waiting for you. May your journey be enlightened. May your heart be strengthened. And may the peace that passes all understanding dwell within you. You have never been alone, and you never will be.